Hi, welcome to Quirky Queen's Journals. My name's Kirsten. Today I am making jelly prints on book pages to make a little book with. This was not my intention when I started, however, I'm so pleased with it. It's just a lovely wee memento of today's work. So I am using handmade stencils. Some are from acetate, some are from mylar, and some are from plastic file folders. You know, like you use in folders to separate your work. So one thing I did discover today, so some of these are newer and some are older, and that it's best to only put them down in such a way that the paint only gets on one side, because when the build-up of paint starts happening on both sides, it loses the sort of grip it has on the jelly plate. So I've been going through them and, removing the ones that are not sticking anymore, and moving forward I will make sure I only ever put them down one way on the jelly plate or clean them straight after. Although that's unlikely, so I'll probably stick to the trying to keep them one side free of paint. The reason you want to do this is because when you're using the brayer to put the paint on, if it's not got a good grip on the jelly plate, the stencil will just come off. So I'm using Payne's Grey and Sky Blue Light paint. And I've applied it on top of the stencils. So now I am removing the stencils, and within the spaces that are left, I'm going to use the acrylic paint pens, the Posca pens, to doodle in the gaps, and then I'll lift the whole print with another layer of paint. I will be putting the prints onto book pages. Now I am using a dictionary, and the paper that's in the dictionary is very similar to the overlay sketching drawing paper that I use. That is 50 GSM. So it's very smooth and thin, and I find it performs very similar to the overlay paper, and I had no problem pulling up the prints with it. So I'm just doing different marks. I'm just doodling and having fun. These are very simple jelly prints that really anybody could do. You just need to cut out some shapes, put the paint on the jelly print with the brayer, and do some doodling, and then use book pages to lift it off. So you don't even need to have stencils, you can make your own. So I do end up with 10 prints in total, but I only show you one because the process for every print is the same. So by the time that I've finished the doodling, the paint will be dry. It's important the paint's dry before the next layer of paint is put on top. It's funny, I can think of patterns all the time, but the minute it comes to actually doodling patterns, my mind goes completely blank. I really think this as well was very good practice for composition, because I would use a couple of elements that were kind of, I suppose, the feature stencils on the plate, and then I would try and use the other ones to support them. So, like the swirl in the middle of the big circle and the big circle, plus the skinny tall oval, as I would say, are the sort of features, I've also tried to make it so that the tall oval takes up 1/3 of the gel plate and the big circle with the swirly bit takes up the rest of the jelly plate, and then the little shapes round about are just helping fill in the spaces or leave space in such a way that it provides balance. I've also tried to keep my stencils as rounded as possible so that the edges don't have any sort of sharp corners on them, because although they're all different shapes, the fact that their edges are similar brings them together and it adds cohesion. So this is raw sienna. I'm trying to use a mixture of the kind of very vibrant colours and the more neutral, natural type colours. So when I'm pulling the paper off the jelly plate, this had sat for about 10 minutes before I pulled it. When I pull it off the plate, if I feel it sticking at one side, I'll go to pull it from a different corner, or I'll wait for longer. But that one pulled really nicely. Now, the raw sienna and the yellow posca pen have gave wonderful tone on tone colours, and I could have just left it as it was, but I just wanted to just highlight the shapes a little bit more. So I'm using a white posca pen, and what I'm doing is I'm just loosely defining the outlines, and although I'm copying the shape that is there, this posca pen has a thinner nib, and I'm not being completely accurate. I'm being quite loose and quick with it, so that although I'm following the lines that are there, sometimes they'll go over the line and then other times they'll miss it. So that just adds more depth. I hope that makes sense. Basically, I'm repeating the shapes. I'm not just going over the shapes. I do like how this one turned out. I think the colours work well together. I think the shapes on the page work well together, and I think that they've been quite nicely distributed, although all having the four corners of the circle, it would have been slightly better if one of them had been a bit off, more off. So this is me putting the book together. So all I'm doing is folding the book pages in half. Then I'm using the glue stick on top of one of the book pages and then bringing another one down on top of it. So what will happen is basically every page is now a double page, and they will have a jelly print on each side. So these pages were A5 size to start with, and now the little book is A6 size. So they're all being stuck together, and then the piece on the left I did on my overlay paper, which is of a similar paper to the dictionary book paper, but it's, in this case, I've used a bigger sheet. And now I'm going to stick it down on two sides, as you can see there. And this is just to create a little cover. It probably wasn't necessary to do this. It's just what I wanted to do. And also, it's probably not the best binding, but it was easy, it was simple, it was quick, and it absolutely suited just putting these wee pictures into a lovely wee book format. So I was just cutting down the edges with a craft knife there, so that they're all the same size now. In the last video, I made jelly print stickers by using address labels. And this is me, although it's not necessary, this is purely decorative because that page, there is a spine in place already, if you like, because that page covers the whole book. But from a decorative point of view, I think it really enhances it and it makes it look more like a book. Now, I don't know why I decided to cut off the edge with a craft knife instead of a pair of scissors. Look at it. It was wonky, it was difficult, and it took far too long. I also round the corners of the book with the 4mm corner rounder, just to give it that extra little finished look, because at the end of the day it is scrappy, it's made from book pages, but I just feel it looked really good and I feel like I made a little artist book. I also very much like these designs. I feel that, you know, these are the shapes of the stencils that, although they're all different, that I feel they can make quite a lot. I like the painterly effect with the posca pens. I like when I've cut it down as well that it's brought some of the shapes off the edges. And I also added in a couple of the address labels that I'd turned into stickers, just to add a wee bit of embellishment. And obviously you could add in more. We could add in pockets, little flip outs, but I was just really pleased with this. Now, this may not have the best colour, but I just love this sticker and I just felt that that page needed something to just add to it. So I hope you enjoyed and thanks very much for watching, and I hope to see you soon. Take care. Bye.